Picture a world where military technology has long been defined by the sheer force of kinetic energy, from the humble arrow to electromagnetic railguns that fired at an astonishing 9,800 feet per second. It was all about launching one object at incredible speeds to annihilate another. But the landscape of warfare was changing, my friends. Inexpensive drones and hypersonic missiles emerged as game changers, tipping the balance of traditional missile defense systems. These new threats were forcing military engineers to reevaluate their strategies. And in the midst of this upheaval, a mysterious and misunderstood weapon was about to take center stage. Lasers, once the stuff of sci-fi dreams, were now a reality, making their presence felt in the air, on the sea, and on the ground. They were not just being developed and tested, they were actively used in military operations. Lasers were becoming the embodiment of adaptability. They were stepping in to replace Israel's Iron Dome, providing protection for commercial cargo planes. But what was the untold story behind their resurgence? How could lasers potentially save the military over $100,000 every time they locked onto a target? Let's find out. And so, in this gripping narrative, a new protagonist emerged: the drone. Drones were revolutionizing warfare in all domains: the sky, the land, and the sea. What was most astounding was their affordability, with drones like the DJI Mavic priced at a mere $2,000, capable of taking down multi-million-dollar tanks. But a dilemma loomed large. The existing anti-drone defense systems relied on precision missile strikes, a costly affair. The cheapest of these systems, known as man-pads, required one person to launch and used Stinger missiles, each of which came at an eye-popping $100,000. Then there was the colossal Patriot missile, clocking in at an average of $3 million per unit. How could military forces bridge this gaping price asymmetry, avoiding the absurdity of spending millions to take down a mere drone? Enter the tireless efforts of engineers, who over the years had been devising solutions like anti-drone nets and radio-frequency drone blasters. But it was the lasers that emerged as the practical addition to the military's layered defense systems. The primary goal of laser systems was to enhance a nation's layered or integrated defense strategy. Integrated defense meant combining multiple systems, from radars to ground and sea-based missile defense and fighter jets, all aimed at deterring conventional threats. But the emergence of low, slow, and small threats like quadcopter drones was poking holes in these defense systems. Cost was a critical factor in this layered defense strategy. Here's a mind-boggling fact. A naval CRAM unit could fire 4,500 rounds per minute, each round costing around $27. In contrast, that same burst from a 250 kW high-energy laser would cost less than a quarter, less than 25 cents. And as a bonus, you'd never have to worry about reloading. Lasers also brought an added layer of precision and efficiency to the defense system. Where were weaponized lasers being used today, beyond just taking down drones? Laser weapons were also known as directed energy weapons, with a history that dated back to Archimedes in 212 BC, who used mirrors to redirect sunlight onto Roman ships and set them ablaze. They resurfaced during President Reagan's era with the Star Wars program, aiming to use orbiting laser-equipped satellites to intercept Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles. But technology wasn't ready back then, and the plan remained grounded. More recently, the U.S. Congress identified directed energy weapons as having a significant impact on U.S. national security in the years to come. The U.S., along with a handful of other nations, including Germany, France, the U.K., Israel, Russia, and China, had been testing and integrating these weapon systems into their land, sea, and air capabilities for the past decade. But how had these systems evolved to what we see today? The early versions of laser weapon systems were known as chemical lasers, as they derived their energy from chemical reactions. While they were powerful, they had a massive footprint. For instance, the YAL-1, operational in 2010, was a massive chemical laser mounted on the nose of a Boeing 747, capable of taking down missiles with its mighty beam. Yet it had a glaring downside: The system occupied the entire cargo bay of the airplane and came with a staggering price tag of over $2 billion, rendering it impractical and unaffordable. However, smaller, less powerful electric lasers, known as directed infrared countermeasures, started making their way onto military and civilian cargo planes. These electric lasers didn't directly destroy incoming missiles, but instead confused their guidance systems. By pulsing the laser, the missile lost track of its target, veering off course. This method involved a pod setup mounted under the fuselage, with a missile warning system, an IR camera-equipped turret, and of course, the laser. Fast forward to today, and electric lasers have taken center stage, thanks to technological advancements. These systems were more compact and scalable compared to their chemical predecessors. Their power output could be cranked up to astonishing levels without the need for a substantial increase in size. These high-energy lasers, or HEL, were being developed on land by military contractors like Raytheon, designed to protect against short-range aerial threats and the new and ominous LSS targets, like swarms of drones. These modular systems could generate up to 50 kilowatts of power, capable of melting polymer plastic drones in seconds. On the high seas, the Compact Laser Weapon System, or CLAWS, had been fitted onto American naval ships since 2014. The power output was classified but estimated to range from 50 kW to several megawatts, eclipsing Raytheon's modular HEL in range. What was remarkable was how easy these laser systems were to operate. They used Xbox-like controllers for aiming, locking onto targets, and firing. Although the initial investment was over 5 times that of traditional counter-ram units, the long-term costs were expected to decrease. Despite being more technologically advanced and potentially harder to manufacture, they had fewer moving parts, no physical ammunition, lower logistical costs, and delivered more accurate shots. But lasers weren't just about taking down drones. They were also about training them. You might be wondering how, and the answer is quite a surprise. Fish. Fish swam in schools, forming large groups that resembled clouds or even swarms. And here's where lasers played a role. They were used to track and stimulate specific fish, to observe how a change in behavior in some of them influenced the entire group. Scientists carefully recorded these changes and built AI models based on this behavior. These models, in turn, trained drone swarms to move more like a group of living animals. The fish essentially taught the drones to be more independent. But this research was still in its early stages. So how did today's swarms of drones navigate autonomously? The answer, once again, lay with lasers. 3D mapping lasers. These lasers were employed to scan entire ships, with DARPA using the same technology to scan large buildings and entire urban environments. This program, called Offset, began by mapping an area to create a precise digital version of it. These 3D LiDAR scanners captured up to 1 million photos per second, producing an extraordinarily detailed virtual landscape. Human swarm commanders used VR headsets to view these environments and control simulated drones, setting mission plans. Drones then sprang into action, combining AI-driven swarm tactics with human command. The Offset system showcased advanced swarm behavior inspired by nature, collective decision-making, adaptive formation flying, and self-healing. Drone operations, however, were constrained by their battery life. Drones had to find their way back to a charging station for a recharge, but lasers were about to change that game. Thanks to a revolutionary concept called power beaming, drones could soon recharge while in motion, without ever having to return to a charging station. Power beaming involved shining a laser onto a photovoltaic receiver tuned to the laser's wavelengths. These receivers demonstrated 1.5 to 2.5 times greater efficiency when exposed to laser light compared to sunlight. Engineers at the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory had been experimenting with this technology since 2017. Initially, the project began by delivering energy to submarine drones through optical cables, but soon expanded to open-air power transfers. The system successfully delivered over 400 watts of power indoors to a receiver over 1,000 feet away, demonstrating its safety and scalability. The implications of power beaming were groundbreaking. It could reduce the infrastructure needed for setting up forward operation bases, rendering traditional wiring and fuel transfer mechanisms obsolete. Power beaming was portable, silent, and invisible, making it an ideal solution for military applications. Yet, there was a limitation. Laser beams traveled in a straight line, which meant they required a clear line of sight. But what if this limitation could be overcome? Power could be beamed anywhere on Earth. A project called Spider, initiated by the Air Force Research Laboratory, aimed to do just that from orbit. Spider's vision was to collect solar energy from satellites in orbit and beam it down directly to receivers on Earth. This could potentially eliminate the need for traditional power infrastructure, making local power generators and fuel convoys a thing of the past. The implications were not limited to the military. This technology could be a game changer for civilian infrastructures worldwide. But what happened when that mighty beam of energy hit the wrong spot? Well, that, my dear viewers, remained a tantalizing mystery in the unfolding story of lasers in the military. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content. Take care.